So with episode 2 of part 4, we finally see the opening and the ending for the show. And I gotta say, though I did enjoy both of them, but to me personally, I felt like the ending was like rather short. I don't know if that right there was because it was my first time seeing it, but it seemed pretty short to me for some reason. But this episode, it mainly covered, Jotaro and Josuke. They were taking on this serial killer named Angelo, who of course would like come after Josuke to get revenge for stopping his robbery from the first episode. And so we see now that while Angelo was like pretending to be this milkman, Josuke's mother, she was out like working in this garage, and she was like warning him about some dog poop that like somebody had left and like in front of her house. And we even see now that like Angelo had like stepped in it. And so right now, Josuke's mother was like telling him how one of the lids on the milk bottle was like actually open, and that right there kind of like ruined his plan, because he was like, if either Josuke or her were to like drink out of it, then that right there would have been the perfect chance for his Aqua necklace to actually get inside their bodies. And so of course now he actually had to change the bottle, because that right there would like blow his cover, even though Josuke's mom was like, you are definitely not the usual milkman that we get. And so right now that while Angelo was like watching the house, he was still like biding his time. But we see now that at one point there was this guy walking his dog, and we see now that this dog was like pooping in front of a tree. And so right now, Angela had realized that was the one who had left that poop back at Josuke's house, and that right there made him pissed off. And so we see now that him grabbing this dog out of nowhere, and he actually bit off his face, even though it was censored somewhat. You can obviously see that that he obviously bit that dog's face off. And then we see now how we like use his stand to actually enter that man's body, and we see like his arms coming out of his ears, and that right there was like so brutal. And there's like one thing with this censorship that I definitely don't get, because we see now that at one point Angelo was like able to sneak his stand into like Josuke's house, and we see now that at one point that it actually got inside of Josuke's like mother's mouth. And so we see now that while Josuke was like talking to Jotaro, he obviously had to do something, and so we see him punch a hole through his mother's stomach. And that part right there, they actually didn't censor, like whatsoever. So apparently we can show somebody getting a hole through their stomach, but we cannot show an animal getting a space band off. Like, to me, it seems like, kind of weird, because why censor one thing when you don't censor another? Like, you might as well not censor everything. Like, to me, it definitely seems like kind of strange. But we see that Josuke, he was like easily able to like deal with it, and it seems that his mother had no idea what happened to her. So that right there is definitely a nice perk to his powers. And so we see now that when Josuke had actually managed to capture, Aqua necklace, Jotaro was like going to head to his house right away. And also there was a very nice transition that they did, because we see now that when Jotaro hung that phone up, next thing we see him like crouching down a bit, and he was like getting into a taxi cab. That right there was like very nice. And so now we see that Josuke's grandfather, he had came home actually from work, and we see now that Angelo definitely, had remember him, because he was the one who had arrested him, so many years ago. And we also learned that the Angelo's worst crime, it took place in March 1994, where he actually kidnapped 3 boys. He raped and killed 2 of them, but the third one was like from this rich family, so he actually held them for ransom. But we see now that when Angelo had actually got arrested for that, we see that he not only did he already kill this boy, but he took his private parts and nailed them to a pole next to the body. That right there is so sick and twisted. This guy is nothing but a monster. And so now we see that when Josuke was home waiting for Jotaro, his grandfather came up behind him and were like scaring him with a gun, because we learned how these two, they have this contest where they scare each other every week. And so we see now that, Angelo's master plan, it was of course to escape that bottle, but he somehow knew like Josuke's grandfather habits, because apparently every time this guy like gets off a shift, he takes up a bottle of bourbon or was it whiskey? It was like one of them, but apparently Aqua necklace, it can actually change the appearance, into another type of liquid, and this time it took the form of alcohol, and that right there made Josuke's grandfather open and drink it. And so we see now that when Aqua necklace was now in his body, it of course killed him, getting his revenge. And so now Josuke, he definitely did not want to accept that his grandfather was dead, because we saw him heal his body with with Crazy Diamond or Shiny Diamond. But pretty much, Jotaro had to make him face a very harsh reality, talking about once a life is taken, it can never be brought back, no matter what stand. And so right now, a few days later, they were having a funeral for his grandfather, and we see now that obviously his mother, she was very upset, but luckily Josuke here had this brilliant idea to make her stable relatives, because obviously Angelo would definitely be going for her next, because this guy wants to kill his entire family. And also I definitely gotta say Josuke family, his mother and grandfather, they are very perceptive, because even his grandfather was someone very dangerous, is hiding in this city, and this guy was always protecting it, because he's been a cop now for 35 years, and sadly he lost his life to the most dangerous criminal that he actually helped put away. And so now 3 days later, Angelo, he was still watching him, but all this time he has not made a move, because he was waiting for a very certain thing to happen, and that right there was rain. And so when it was raining now, that right there is where Angelo was at its most dangerous, because now they could not leave, because that rain, it definitely helped Angelo stay and move, way more freely. And we see now that once it was back in the house, all you see is just Angelo stand doing work. We see now how made stains from these kettles. It was running waters and sink and pretty much everything. And so right now, pretty much Josuke's house, it was Angelo's perfect cage, because they were trapped, because he can attack from so many different angles. That right there was pretty impressive, because obviously you would think Angelo's stand is pretty weak. No, used in the very right situation, like how we use it in this episode, this thing is extremely deadly. Now, it might not be that strong, because obviously it did not have, any attack strength like Crazy Diamond or Star Platinum. But this thing is fast and dangerous, and even Josuke was if the thing enter my bodies, I lose, because we learned actually Josuke can heal any wounds, on anybody, but when it comes to his own wounds, he cannot heal them, because he actually had a scar from where Josuke, had punched him in the first episode. And so now we see that Josuke, he actually had this plan, and we see now that at one point he had punched this hole, in a wall, and we see now that once they were in, once they were in the living room, they thought that they were safe, but no, Angelo here actually has set up a what's called a humidifier, and using that steam, he was able to get Aqua necklace inside Josuke. And so right now, you would think that right there might be it, but no, Josuke was one step ahead, because he actually had swallowed a rubber glove, and that right there, allowed him to actually, capture Aqua necklace. And that right there was smart, but at the same time it was extremely dangerous, because I could not imagine anyone crazy but a JoJo to make up with some kind of crazy ass plan like that. And so now we see that with Aqua necklace once again captured, they now had to lure out Angelo. And so we see now that using Crazy Diamond, and swinging it around, they actually made Angelo go flying from that tree. And I gotta say, first seeing that right there was freaking hilarious. I was laughing my ass off seeing him go flying. And we even see now Angelo, this horrible criminal, being a coward, because he was trying to run, but obviously there was no way in hell they were going to let him escape. And so now we see that while he was running, they actually made him, stop in front of this rock, and like he was saying how, they can't kill him, even though he had killed Josuke, grandfather, he actually has no right to kill him. And we see now that right there, kind of like made him mad. And so we see now that when he punched his hand, he actually made it fuse, with a rock. Oh, and also there was like, one point in the episode, it was before Angelo made his move where Jotaro had mentioned Angelo's name in front of Josuke, and that right there made him get so upset. It actually messed up his hair, but he was like he was claiming to be, completely calm, even though that right there was a complete lie. And so now we see that the way Josuke had made Angelo, suffer or repent for his crime, or pretty much getting his revenge, it was by punching him so many times. He actually made his body fuse with that huge rock behind him. And I gotta say that in the manga, like, to me, I feel like, to me it looked a lot worse. But in the anime, they made it look more creepy, because you could see like Angelo's face clearly inside it. But at the same time, like, this rock here became some kind of like national monument, as it actually got a popular like lover spot. And I gotta say, what kind of people are like confessing their love or having like these kind of relations in front of that rock? Because there is no way I would ever bring my girl, and like I would never bring my girl in front of a creepy ass rock like that. But that right there was like pretty much where the episode ends. And I gotta say, it was definitely fantastic. Like to me, they are definitely following they are definitely following the source material, except for the whole rock thing. Like appearance wise, that right there was like definitely changed. Now I will say that the anime did that scene a little better, but at the same time it's more creepy, because you see some guy's face like looking at you screaming in agony, unless they change that, later on, like maybe Angelo like wasn't done fusing with it, by the time the episode ended. But overall, a very good episode. Angelo, like he appeared, he was like our first major villain, and of course Josuke, our protagonist, definitely handled him like a hero should. But at the same time, he also handled him, like a bit cruel, because now this guy is pretty much fused to a rock, and that right there is messed up, because this guy probably wants to die, but now he can't. But overall, let me know what you guys thought. Like I said, this episode was like so damn good. If I had to rate it, that right there will like probably be an 8. But of course, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And as always, you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.